Hello students, I'm Dr. DiVincenzo, your professor for this CHEM 1030D distance learning course, online course. I just want to welcome you, and this is basically an introductory video to get you familiar with basically our D2L homepage and how to navigate and how to get up and running and how to get started. Because this is a true online course, all resources and everything is online, so there's no class meetings. So I need to make sure that you're comfortable with where the material is and how to figure out when things are due and stuff like that. So this video will be a little bit on the longer side, probably about 20 minutes. I have two other videos. One that'll be specifically on navigating the content, which is the lecture material, if you will, that you'll be assessed on. And then one is on accessing the lab materials. So I'm going to share my screen with you here to get started just showing you around. So now you should be seeing my screen. You should be seeing our home page here. So this is your typical D2L homepage. If you're not familiar with it, across the top banner, you've got, you can always get back home, which is here. You can get to content, which is where all your materials are going to be, syllabi, all that kind of stuff, and all your slides for your different topical material that we'll be covering. Assessments includes things like discussions, which you will have to be do as part of the course, Dropbox, grades, quizzes, all of those you'll be using. Communication will have things like your email. The discussions are also there. You also have access to a calendar here. If we have some Zoom sessions, you can see as you go through the material that those Zoom sessions are not set. They have to be requested. And if we have a Zoom session, then the recording will be posted for anyone that can't make that Zoom session. But as you scroll this page, you see on the right here is my instructor information, and I ask you all to basically email me through D2L. That's just the easiest way for me to keep all the emails for this course in one place. Okay, there's my contact information. Here you've got links to important documents, the 4 most important documents you have to deal with. Your lecture syllabus, your lab syllabus, how to be successful in this course. So just some tips on things to do, and your schedule with one place, all your assignment due dates. You scroll down a little further, you've got your calendar over here. You can see this is already populated. Because this is an online course, most everything's already on this, on our webpage. So you can see due dates already out here, going out to September 28th, okay? And this is the main area, and you've all got to this video, so that means you got my email, you visited this page, and you've clicked on this introductory video here, and you've probably read this welcoming remark here. So I'm not going to waste your time reading everything here. But it tells you, obviously, we're going to be using a laboratory kit for this course, okay? That's your only purchase for this course. There are other 1030 courses that are out there, so do not purchase anything else. You don't need the periodic table. You don't need a lab manual, nothing like that. Goggles, everything comes with the kit. So as you scroll down, there'll be a module for you to read specifically on the course topics, okay? So that's what this one talks about. It tells you when things are due. You can read this. And then it's got one on the laboratory section. It's got a link to the laboratory website. So once again, I'll have 2 shorter videos dealing specifically with that. Here I want to help you navigate and get familiar. So what I'm going to do right here now is I'm going to jump into content. And over on the left is always kind of your table of contents, how to access everything. And when you click on something over here, it populates over here on the right. So this is the overview of the course. And so all it is just telling you kind of what we cover in an outline. This is a link to the course introduction, which is also right here, which is going to have all of our materials like our syllabi and stuff like that. You'll see that there's multiple links that take you to the same place within our D2L shell. So I'm always making sure you can get back to where you want to be at. Remember, you can always go to course home. The course schedule shows up here. There's nothing right here in the next 7 days, so nothing's showing up. But you also have the calendar on the home page. And so let's go, and you can click on the table of contents. That's going to populate over here. And you can collapse any of these things, module 1, module 2, or you can expand them. But over here now, if we go to course introduction, we'll have an important statement up here about getting started. And for a lot of you, you've got to complete this academic, not for a lot of you, for everyone, has to complete this academic integrity survey. It's just basically typing in your name and clicking, I am True Blue, but you need to make sure you read it. Then you'll be able to access all the content over here. This will be hidden from you probably, I believe, until you complete that. Because you're not allowed to go forward. It's mandatory. You have to do that before you can access the material. There's a link to the eSciences lab. That's the web page that contains all the stuff for the lab. I'll take you through that in the lab video. But what this basically saying, once you've done this academic integrity, you can see that, hey, there's 4 things they really want me to do here that Dr. D wants me to do. By the way, you can call me Dr. D. That's what most students have called me over the years, is print out or at least download, read, whatever. Lecture syllabus, lab syllabus, how to be successful, and the assignment schedule, which are all down here. Okay, this is the introductory video you're watching. Lecture syllabus. There's a lecture materials video. That's the video I referred to you, the shorter one. Lab syllabus and the lab materials video. How to be successful, assignment schedule. Then there's also getting started lab activities. I'll take you through that in the lab video. And there's a True Blue pledge. You've also got all these other resources down here. Bunch of student resources. These are provided by the university. There's 11 of those. They're things like, MTSU Online, D2L tools, online tutoring, the writing center, all that kind of stuff, okay? But you do have the course outline that I've put out there. It's just a list of the stuff. There's a textbook link. That's the full textbook. There's the eSciences link, and there's 3 versions of a periodic table. This one is actually a website that has a really nice interactive periodic table. These are actually downloadable documents. One of them, a little bit fuzzy to read, so I give you a couple copies because you're going to need a periodic table, and your textbook does not have a periodic table. Okay, so let's take a look at the syllabus now and see what's in our syllabus. Once again, we're under course introduction here. This is just kind of an overview of that introduction. Then here's all of our materials. So let's go into the lecture syllabus. I'll go through this, but you can read it. It's got contact information. You can see here. You can also request a one-on-one Zoom session through email. I will typically be available during these times. If you do not request a private meeting, meaning you're not looking to talk to me about something private just between the 2 of us, I will announce it to the entire class as an open Zoom session for anyone to join, listen in, and ask questions. In fact, if you don't feel comfortable doing a Zoom session just with me, you can get together with one of your colleagues in class and request it. At least 2 of you will be there, but it's no different than coming by my office and talking to me, which there shouldn't be an issue with. So you can request this, and I will open it to the entire class unless you specifically state that it is at a private meeting. Once again, use D2L email. Here's a course description and some objectives and outcomes. Here's a link to the entire textbook. You also had a link I showed you before under student resources. That might become useful if you want to access the glossary or the index. There is one point in the semester in which I cover something that's not in any of the actual chapter PDFs I give you. It's covered in an earlier part in the class. I think there's 2 places where that happens. But I didn't assign those chapters because there's way too much other information not responsible for. So you might need your glossary index to navigate and find that. So here's how your grade comes about. You have 5 discussions worth 9 points each. That's 45 points. Basically, there'll be topics, and I'll show you that where the discussions are. And you're to start a thread. You can't read anybody else's thread until you start your own. And they're graded. The only one that's not graded is the introductory discussion where you're supposed to just introduce yourself. And that's okay because that's just an introduction. But basically, you're to start a thread and to reply to 2 other threads in an intelligent, coherent fashion with more than just a word or 2, with a couple sentences. And then if you do that, you'll get full credit. There's worksheets, 8 of them at 20 points each. Open book, open note, untimed, available for several days. Then there's timed quizzes, which are only open for about 24 hours. And the quizzes are 85 minutes long, and then they're closed. Okay, they're open book, open note also. I stress in multiple places that you're not to use the internet for the quizzes. You're only to use the class resources. Your readings, the highlighting and notes that you've taken from that, the slides, the videos you've watched. That's how you answer the material, not from Googling things. If you Google something and the answer is actually right, correct, but not in our resources, you'll still receive no credit. You also could be brought up on charges of academic plagiarism as a misconduct if you're just copying and pasting from the internet. So be wary of that. Then there's lab assignments. You get to drop your lowest quiz and you get to drop your lowest lab. So I think there's 9 labs at 15 points each. You wind up with 8 times 15, which is 120. That's the 500 points. And that's your lab. And there's your grade distribution right there. So you know exactly where you stand before anything starts. Feedback, email me, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Grades are posted as soon as humanly possible for me to grade them. I'm teaching 3 classes in a lab this semester, so I'll need some time. You're expected to participate and communicate with other students and communicate with me and request a Zoom session if you need help. I'll use your submission of grades and assignments as your sign of attendance. There's your drop dates. Here's the discussions. It tells you here, starting a thread and replying it to at least 2 others. Gives you some guidelines for the discussions. Talks about Zoom meetings here and that there are no scheduled sessions. You're to request something if you need it. And the reason I do it like this, I told you not to have scheduled sessions to be unfair to some students, but also, to be honest with you, I've had little request for Zoom sessions. When I had scheduled Zoom sessions in the past, I had very few students show up. So I'm not going to just basically, quite frankly, waste my time unless there's a real interest in it. And there's your standard syllabus information. If you have a learning disability, if you need tutoring, grade appeals policy, there's a COVID-19 statement. That's not as important for us because we're not on-campus students, but of course some of you will be on campus for other classes, but you'll have that statement in your syllabus for those classes. So that is the syllabus. Be sure to read through it carefully, pay attention to detail, and look it over. So that is your syllabus. I'll do the lab syllabus in the lab video, and there's your lab materials video. That's where I'll cover that. Let's look at how to be successful in this course now. This is a document that's going to tell you, give you tips on how to move through. It's going to tell you, first of all, the first thing you need to do is review the PowerPoint slides in the worksheet. Then you read the chapter and take notes. Then you study the PowerPoint slides. Then you watch the video. Then, if you need help, you schedule a Zoom meeting. Then you fill out the worksheet. Then you participate in a discussion because now you will be intelligent enough to say some intelligent things in the discussion. Then you complete the quiz. And then the laboratory, not necessarily in that order because the laboratory is spread throughout as we look at the assignment schedule, you'll see that, but that's at the end there. And all this needs to be read over carefully so that you're comfortable with some of the things I've said already, like, you're not to be using the internet to complete these quizzes. Everything's open book, open note. You cannot drop worksheets, but you can drop a quiz in a lab, things like that. Attention to detail. You need to make sure that you're comfortable with what the class entails. And then here's your assignment schedule. This is nice because it has everything in one place. It's got your labs, worksheets, quizzes, everything. Okay? Now, there are 2 labs. Well, I'll cover that in the lab section, never mind. So it's got all your due dates. Everything's due by 11:59 p.m. on the due date, so that makes it very simple for you to remember. And the bold ones, I'll talk about in the lab syllabus when I pull up that lab video. But otherwise, you have a module, and then that module will end typically with a quiz on the last day, except for this first module. Since we have labs spread out a little bit, the quiz is still on the 3rd. This one appears, if you will, this data interpretation one appears due, it's due September 8th, so effectively it falls, laps over with this. But all the other modules are self-contained with the quiz ending on the last day of that module, November 2nd, November 2nd, November 16th, November 16th. Labs are spread throughout, so this is your assignment schedule. Late assignments will have points deducted based on how late they're submitted. Quizzes cannot be submitted late. They just close, and that's all there is to it. As the semester proceeds, the penalty for late assignments will increase. Initially, I'm going to have a grace period. That first week, if you're late, I'm not going to take off any points. The second week, I'll probably be pretty lenient, take off only a point or so, especially if you didn't have anything late the first week. After the second week, then I'll start taking off more points. You'll be expected to navigate the class and be comfortable with everything. Okay, I'll do this in the lab. There's your True Blue Pledge. There's all the resources we've gone through. So now I want to go back home. We've looked at the content. Assessment, eventually, all your drop boxes are here. So now you have a drop box. There's a safety contract. I'll go cover that in the lab, how to access that and what you're going to do. But here's the drop box for all your lab reports and then all your worksheets. Okay? That's the drop box for that, already with all the due dates, so they show up on that home calendar right here. If it doesn't say worksheet or quiz or discussion, then it's a lab. Testable observations, that's a lab. So that's your drop box. You can go to your grades and see all your grades. There's nothing there right now. You can see quizzes here. Only the first two are visible right now. You can't actually go in and see the quiz until you actually go to take it, of course. Only two are actually showing up right now. And discussions are also available from here. And all these are actually not, they're all visible. A couple are visible. And you can see what they are already. Discussion 1 is, do you think you are living sustainably? Okay, and explain. The introductory discussion is not graded. The other 5 are graded. There's only 2 showing up right now. This one is just an opportunity for you to introduce yourself. Get to know me. I'm going to do one with a video note, I think, and just talk to you a little bit about personal stuff, you know, get to know each other. That's the idea here since we don't have in-class meetings. So that's where your discussions are. If you come over to communications, discussions are also there. You can access your email here. You can access the calendar also. Okay, so showing you the calendar. And then once again, videos will show up here if we have any Zoom videos. Other than that, that is our homepage. So be sure to get familiar with it. If you have any questions, be sure to email me through D2L. But I believe I've covered everything. The news items here, the calendar, all your links, assessments and communications, and I introduce you to content. Now you're going to want to go watch some of the other videos under course introduction here. Maybe watch that lecture materials video and lab materials video now also, and also read these modules here that if you haven't read them yet, course modules and laboratory section. So with that, I've stopped my screen share and I'm going to stop the video, and I hope you all get comfortable with the class and email me if you have any questions.